Kia ora, boys and girls. Welcome to this episode of The Drop Clutch with me, Ricky V. In this series, I'm interviewing as many drummers from around New Zealand, metal drummers from around New Zealand as I can, just to get a bit of an insight into what makes these guys and girls tick. Tonight, I've got a really special guest. These guys have just released a full album in December, just been hot off the heels of one in 2022, for which they toured through Europe. Big 12-show tour. It was really massive. Played with some super high-level bands. It was really awesome to see a New Zealand band on that level. There's a couple of them, but only a couple. Tonight, I have Matt Wright of Imperial Slave. Hey, bro, how we doing?
What's up, man? Bit sore, been better, but I'll survive. How are you?
I am fantastic, thank you, man. Just to get us started, tell us a little bit about the history of Imperial Slave, how you joined the band, or how you formed the band, or tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so I was the last person to join the band. Sam's the mastermind behind everything, so he'd just gotten back from Germany and wanted to continue the music thing. Synate wasn't going to work out, so he's thinking, damn, I guess I better find some other people. So he wrote pretty much the whole first album, and then tried to find musicians who would click together, and musicians who were, up to his level that he wanted to play it. Yeah, so I was playing in Defeatus at the time, which was a thrash metal band from Palmy.
Fuck yeah,
and
Defeatus.
Yeah. So we'd run into Sam quite often, and I knew he was looking for a drummer. Hit me up one day and just asked if I wanted to audition. So I was like, oh yeah, why not? I'll give it a go. Need to learn some. Would be cool to learn some new songs anyway. So I learned the song Imperial Slaves, jumped into that, and it was. I got the okay from him, and they were all good dudes. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Sure, fuck it, why
Learn the
not?
rest of the album, and had a couple of months to, I think, learn all the songs and then get them ready for live. So it was pretty flat out at first, but we got there.
Awesome. How long were you in Defeatus for? Because that's an old school Palmy band, been around, was
Yeah,
around for a long time, eh?
it was one of those bands that, like, all the metal musicians in Palmy just kind of like rotated through. Yeah. Geez, not too long, eh? Maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I didn't record anything with them, so it was just, filling in time while I had my rock band going. I was like, I want to do something a little bit faster at the same time. So
Sure.
had that.
Sure. How was it? Because Daniel Ashcroft was a member of Defeatus he was the founding drummer, wasn't he?
I believe he was, not
Yeah.
100%, but
Okay. How was it
wouldn't
learning
surprise me.
his parts? Because he likes to get pretty crazy with it.
Yeah, I wasn't super big on like thrash metal at the time. I was kind of more coming up through like the, progressive, like gent kind of stuff, Periphery and Animals as Leaders. So switching over to having to play like, 16th and 32nd runs for a bunch of bars was like, okay, I haven't trained this. And it was pretty rough having to keep up. It was more the stamina than the speed, anything that was a problem for me. Yeah, like
Sure.
technically it was relatively easy, but the stamina was just, it smashed me.
Sure. You definitely have to come up with different tricks and for that stamina. I'm constantly changing my grip in parts,
Hmm.
even though what's coming out sounds the same. Having to change where I'm at with French and American and all that kind of business just to make sure that I keep going when I'm playing those kind of things. So I definitely empathize with that. So getting on to you and your drumming, actually, tell us what got you started.
Um, well, originally when I was at school, my parents wanted me to play a musical instrument, so they enrolled me in keyboard classes, and I think I took 2 lessons, and I was playing, Baba Black Sheep or something, and I'm like, this just, it's not doing it for me. So I switched to drums, and like a couple of lessons in, was realized like, oh well, I can do like everything he's trying to teach me like straight away. So ended up having, this was when I was about 10 or 11.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
had lessons like one lesson a week for a few years. I didn't really take it too seriously at the time, though. I wish I did now, as we all do when we get older and look back at our younger selves. But it's it was good to get me started anyway. So, and then I got into metal and was like, I only want to play this now. I just want to play. Yeah. And then kind of, it was like I got the basics from a teacher, and then everything else I learned myself, or off YouTube, or just listening and trying to do different things. Picked up many a bad habit along the way.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yes.
slowly fixing them all now.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah. The fix it job. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Who are some of your favorite drummers, please, Matt?
Oh, I'll go with the first drummer that really got me into liking drums was the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold. So they were kind of like my introduction to metal, and I just heard him doing all these crazy drum fills and just the real fun metal stuff, and it was like metal punky things. I'm like, I really want to play this. Yeah, he was kind of my first inspiration, and then he kind of died a couple of years after I found him, and I was heartbroken. So,
Just kind of.
yeah, and from there on, it kind of went down like Matt Gartzker and from Animals as Leaders, Matt Greiner from
August Burns Red.
August Burns Red, yep. And then sort of like George Coleus, and now I'm more looking at sort of Benny Grebs and whatnot. Just sort of trying to get more like jazz and grooves, like Vinnie Colaiuta. Is that how you say it? But yes,
yeah, something like that.
Mm.
Colaiuta. Yeah. Well,
something like that.
I'm sure you were right. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Trying to take a lot of inspiration from different places.
Sure, it is really important to do. Really important to do. Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse, right? Bass player.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I was watching some documentary, and I think he said it was. I'm definitely going to get this wrong, but I think he said it was after the first or second album. He was starting to feel a little limited, so he wanted to branch out, and so he started learning jazz. And he got a lot of shit from a variety of people for why you're learning that, man. But the impact that it had, learning jazz, which is of course jazz, but just branching out and doing different things that you wouldn't do in metal, had a huge impact on his metal playing. So yeah, hugely valuable, 100%.
Yeah, like that's the thing, eh? Like you get stuck in your own patterns when you're just like playing the same things over and over again, and you end up like, well, I find myself just getting bored of my own style, and I'm like, I need to add new things and just stuff to keep me interested.
Sure.
Otherwise I'll just feel stale, just blasts and normal drum fills the whole time.
Sure. Blast beats and scheme beats, can't go wrong, eh?
No. Yeah, another basis for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you have done a number of international shows as well, which is huge. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like touring through Europe? Because that's just not something that a lot of Kiwi bands, especially metal, but just in general, it's not something that a lot of us will get to experience. So allow us to live us vicariously through you.
Oh yeah, we were super stoked and super surprised to get that gig. Only being a band together for like a year at that point, it was like, we got the message. I was at work and I told my boss, and everybody was, super happy. They're like, you're gonna have to take a lot of leave. And I said, if you don't give me the leave, I'm gonna leave. And so, yeah, my work was really good to me at the time. And then, the tour it's just a whirlwind day. You get to one place, and we got the van. We were driving ourselves, so it wasn't like the most restful kind of tour. We didn't get too much sleep because it was, we have to get up and drive. It's first thing in the morning to the next place. But man, just touring with like professionals like Eugene, and the rest of the Flesh God guys, Omnium Gatherum, they were all such cool people. And we just got to like, just absorb everything they're kind of doing, absorb the lifestyle, and it just kind of cemented it further. It's like, yeah, we gotta do this more.
Sure. What was it like getting to see? Oh, sorry, off you go.
No, the shows were just so good too. Like the people turn up early because we were the first band every night, and there were plenty of people there supporting us. Coming to chat after the show and everything. So it was quite a different experience actually having like big groups of people. Well, bigger than here anyway, because obviously Europe can support it. But man, yeah, just want to do it all the time, eh?
Sure, sure. What was it like getting to see Eugene play, every night for 12 nights? What was that like?
Oh man, it's incredible just to see him play like at those speeds and with that stamina. And like, firstly, he's the most nice guy you'll ever meet. Like, he's just constantly being like a sweetheart to everybody. He's inviting fans and doing lessons and everything. So it's like he's one of the most professional people I've ever met. Like, have you seen his Instagram? He's always out like doing workouts before shows and things. It's like, man, this guy is motivated, and it shows the level that you have to be at to get to his level. And it's like, yeah,
Fuck
very
yeah.
inspirational.
Fuck
He's
yeah.
got so much knowledge too.
Sure. Sure. And he was already on the grind for years. I've been watching his YouTube videos for a long time. Before he joined Flesh God, he was,
Yeah, me too.
already on the grind. So yeah, seems like a really amazing guy. And it must have been such a fucking cool experience for real. This one's a little bit more difficult for the drummers that I've asked so far to answer. Um, how would you describe your style? Obviously, you're branching out, learning different things, which is awesome. But if there's like a core to your style, how would you describe it?
Um, I think chaotic and creative is probably my what I would describe my style as. Imperial Slave probably isn't the best showcase for like exactly my style, just because I have to play a bit more on the beat. But I'm like, yeah, like lots of kind of weird drum fills, and I try to play some stuff you don't expect to hear a
Sure.
lot of the time. I like to hear something a bit different, even if it's like cut up linear grooves or lots of ghost notes and things. It's a lot more. I was a lot more from a progressive metal background, so I really like that the grooving kind of creative grooves, chaotic, chaotic creative grooves.
Chaotic creative. I love that. So you mentioned earlier that the first album was written entirely by Sam, but what was the writing process for the second album for Still at Large?
That was mostly entirely Isaac this time. So it was
Wow.
yeah, not too much of my input. He kind of wrote everything, on the computer. And
Okay.
just kind of like played around with a lot of the drum fills, but for a lot of it it's kind of just kept to what he'd written, because we're kind of quite rushed for our recording process too. And I had to upskill so much just to get the speed that I couldn't really focus on doing the speed and changing everything as well. So it's like, let's just get this done. The drums already sound good anyway. And so we're looking at focusing on the next album now with everybody writing together. So that's going to be very different again.
Sure. Sure. I just want to second that actually. It's something that I have noticed the difference in the drums between the first album and the second album, the difference in your playing is, significant. The speed and the little touches that you're getting in there is it's huge. So yeah, significant skill up factor there for sure. For sure.
And it feels a lot easier to play the second album than it does the first album, which I think is just because I've had to spend so much time practicing. Like at the end of
Sure.
gigs from the first album, I'd be sweaty, my legs would be shaking. It was like just like brute forcing all the notes, and now it's like I've learned the techniques properly and they just flow out of me now, so I can almost not die at the end of a show, but still
Almost.
drenched in sweat, but
Sure.
the legs aren't as shaky, so yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
getting somewhere.
Well, speaking of Still at Large, so that was released on December the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, cool. You
Yep.
guys had your release show, but you guys, Imperial Slave, have got a album release tour coming up in March. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, well, we're kicking it off at the Napier Death Metal Festival, which is
Fuck yeah.
always, yeah, I think you're on the same night as us too.
Uh,
Hopefully
we're
so.
we're on the Saturday now. Are you guys on the Friday or the Saturday?
I think we're on the Friday. Yeah, Friday
Okay.
Napier. So damn,
Yeah.
we'll miss you.
Yeah.
But
Fuck.
yeah, always a sick show though. Hitting up just all the regulars, Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington. We're also making our way down to Invercargill for the first time. Going to do Dunedin as well, New Plymouth, Palmy, of course, hometown. I think that's all we've got lined up for the moment, but
Sure.
it should be another, good trip around the country.
Fuck yeah. This is your definitely your second, or is it your third tour around the country?
This will be our third, I believe.
Third. Fuck, that's active, man, for a fucking Kiwi band,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, we're always out there.
Wow, teamwork makes the dream work, man, for sure. Getting back to your drumming, is there a specific technique that you are practicing on or working on improving at the moment? Specific?
I've got a few of them. Double strokes on the feet, which, I feel like almost every metal drummer's working on these days.
Always.
I felt like, so I've kind of got the swivel down and now I'm like, kind of limiting out like 240, 250. So it's like, if I want to go faster and like comfortably, the doubles seem like the way to go. But also just all the basic rudiments, I'm really trying to get into them now, like work on my chops, doubles and six stroke rolls, paradiddles, just trying to get them as clean and fast as possible. Because, they just add to the creativity of drum fills you can play, trying to fit them in places, make grooves sound a bit better.
Sure.
So, always working on a bunch of different things at the same time.
Sure. Plus, they have a upscaling effect of just making everything sound better, everything sound cleaner. Yeah, sure. Awesome. Cool. So now this is a game that I like to call first, last, best, and worst. So this is about the shows that you've played. So if you can tell us about the first show that you played, the last show that you played, and that's the first show you ever played, going back to high school or intermediate, because you started so young. First show you played, last show you played. What's the best show that you've ever played? And what's the worst show that you've ever played? That one comes with a caveat. But we'll start with the first. What was your first ever show there, Matt?
First show I ever played was a talent quest at my high school, I think. If you want to count that as a show. It was me and a bunch of my mates. Yeah. We'd kind of decided that we were going to be a band, forced a couple of our mates to learn instruments, and then spent, a couple of years doing Iron Maiden covers. And so we played just one song. We played Phantom of the Opera off Iron Maiden's first album.
Oh, yeah.
Our guitarist, he was plugged straight into the DI, had no amp, so he had no distortion. Yeah. As I don't think you could hear the bassist, and so it was a bit of a mess, but we ended up winning, so we were pretty stoked.
Sure.
Maybe first
that?
real, I would have been 14 or 15 at the time. So like first real show though, where we actually like had a set of songs and like played a gig to people that were actually coming to see our music show, was only a few years later. I was 16 or 17. Same band, same group of people. We played with Cephalopod, Wall of Silence, and I think another band I can't quite remember. But yeah, we were just a bunch of teenagers who were just picking up our instruments, basically. Sure. I turned up, I thought there might be a double kick on the house kit, and thought them, and there wasn't. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to I have to play this whole set on a single, because I didn't have a single. I had the whole two bass drums set up with like two old kits put together with two different kick pedals that were at different settings, and it was pretty rough, but the gig went well.
Sure. And fuck you, getting to play with Cephalopod. They were, both iterations of them were fucking great bands.
Yeah, I didn't realize how popular they were when I was, first band. Like I was just like, oh, these probably just a bunch of, ragtag musicians. But it's like, oh no, these were like legit bands, and like my high school band got to play with these guys. Like,
Fuck yeah.
didn't realize how cool it was.
Fuck yeah. What was the last show that you played, please?
Last show was the album release party. We played
Cool.
that Palmy December 15. Um, it was wicked. Played through almost all the songs from the new album. Not too many fuck ups, so we were pretty stoked about that. Yeah, yeah, everything was going well. We had our new system. Got our I can't remember what it's called, but it went perfect.
Awesome.
We're lots of people, good party after, so good times.
Awesome. What was the best show that you've ever played?
Best show for me would be our show that we played in Nijmegen on the Flesh God tour. It was like we had the stage manager there. We had our own dressing room, filled stock with beers and fruits and chocolates and chips and everything. But it was the best stage we've played on by far. You know, we had the sound guy on the stage just next to us, and yeah, it was like just the biggest crowd we'd played to. I think the same stage that like Slayer and a bunch of other bands have played on. Just an awesome light show, and the sound was amazing. The crowd was amazing. So yeah, I don't think I'll have an experience like that for quite a while, at least.
Until you guys go on
Hope
your
to,
next
though.
one. Yeah. Cool. And then lastly, so it is worst show, but it can also be, worst thing to happen behind the kit or funniest thing to happen behind the kit. You know, the amount of times that I've hit the snare, sticks come back up and got me in the eye, right? So worst show or worst experience behind the kit or funniest thing to happen behind the kit, please.
Well, I've got a couple here. There's one of them was just me being stupid. There was trying to grab the fan. Wasn't blowing on me properly, so I went to grab it mid-show and thumb slipped through the grate. The fan caught my thumb and split my thumbnail in half about halfway through the set. So I was trying to, blood everywhere, and ended up like the stick was getting sticky and sweaty, and I was trying to hold on to it. Thumb was aching, but adrenaline got me through the rest of the night. That was a pretty rough show.
Fuck. Right hand or left hand?
Right hand.
So. Fuck, rhythm hand too.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah. It sucked, man. That one hurt.
Fuck.
But funniest moment was we were playing in Whanganui, and the smoke machine set off a fire alarm. So the fire alarms start blaring. The owners come in and are like, "Oh no, it's okay. It was just your smoke machine. You guys can keep playing." So we keep playing over the alarm, and eventually the firemen come in and start telling us off because we kept playing, and entire gig ended up getting shut down about halfway through our set, and we ended up just going home. So it's a pretty sad end to the night, but
sure,
it was well, it wasn't the biggest gig anyway, so we're like, no, we can pass. It's a good story anyway.
Yeah, sure. Fuck, I'm still reeling from that thumb through the fan, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
And obviously that's acting as your, fulcrum. So you're like holding the stick like this or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any options, It's like you can see, like, if I was playing in a rock band, you can do the whole stick sure. Between your fingers, but playing death metal, you kind of need all the dexterity you can get. So it was just tough it out.
Sure. Wow, fuck. The show must go on, right?
I mean, what can you do? You just keep playing.
That's it. So before we get to the very end, I just want to tell you that you actually have somewhat influenced my decision making when it comes to preparing for shows. So we played at the Electric Circus, right? And you had your drum kit set up. Now, my drum kit, as you can see behind me here, is 5 toms, snare, 2 bass drums, but obviously I can make 1 bass drum work. And regardless of what show I was going to, this was the kit that I practiced on. And I always made an effort to, set up the 8-inch tom at least. But for whatever reason, for that Electric Circus gig, I decided that I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to take up what I needed to and play. And then we get there, and your 2 rack toms are over here, and your floor tom is like halfway to Africa over here.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't play particularly well. I wasn't the most comfortable up there, and it kind of fucked me up pretty badly. So so ever
Sorry
since,
about that.
no, fucking you do you. Don't worry about me. But yeah, ever since that show, unless I know, because I host shows as well, and so pretty much every show that I host, I put my drum code up for the most part. But yeah, ever since then, I've started practicing with a 3 tom setup rather than the 5, just so that gap is still big. I like my kit to be very tight, very compact. But even just playing on 3 toms fucked me up, let alone having that gap there as well. So because of that, now when I'm coming up to a gig that I know, or I don't know what drum kit I'm going to be on, and I'm not bringing up all my bits and pieces, I make sure to have 3 toms there. And it was because of that night at the Electric Circus. So thank you very much, bro.
Well, unintentional, but you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it was fucking horrible. I played like ass, but it was an important learning curve thanks to you. So cheers so much, bro. So now we are at the very last part of the show, where you basically get to sign us out. So this is your chance to make a plug for anything. Obviously, we've already done that, but make a plug for anything, or make a shout out to any people that you want to make a shout out to. Matt Wright of Imperial Slave, the floor is now yours.
Well, first of all, shout out to all the boys in Imperial Slave. Shout out to riffs and blast beats, because they make our world go round. Imperial Slave, our new album Still at Large, is out on cassette, CD, vinyl. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on YouTube, it's everywhere you can get it. So give that a listen if you dig a bit of thrashy death metal. Should be right up your alley. And thanks to everybody else that's helped me out, all the other drummers that I see on the show, and all the people listening. They're all cool. I probably know all you anyway, so we've all met. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. Hope you all have a good night.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for being on my show, man. I really fucking appreciate your time, bro. This has been fucking awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.